Manchester United have gone ahead to suffer another loss after losing to Manchester City by 3 goals to nil. We've gone ahead to come in through and lose to Newcastle, but everything is going to be put onto Erik ten Hag. And trust me, he takes the blame for every reason as to why you've gone ahead to lose this game of football, because you can't really come out and not read the game well, because at the beginning of the game, you saw to it that we couldn't really use the midfield. The midfield was won by Newcastle for almost 80 minutes. For almost 80 minutes. And he knew that the midfield was the problem. He knew it very well. Guess what he did? He couldn't react. He couldn't react. Sometimes you need to shift a little bit from what you think is right, and really try out something outside the box, because when he brought on Amrabat into the midfield, you saw to it that we really started to attack, and Newcastle knew to it that now the dimensions of the game have gone ahead to change. And if I told you went ahead to watch my predicted starting 11, I had Amrabat in that midfield because I knew what Newcastle could bring. You saw to it that Kobe Menu went ahead to put in a very good shift, but not the shift that Amrabat came ahead and really put in, because Amrabat is physical, fast, and press resistant. That's what he brings you on the field of play. That's what he gives you as Amrabat. That's what he gives you as Amrabat. But Erik ten Hag sat there and never really had to make a change. And that was really very, very bad. And that the moment, before he even thought of bringing Anthony, Rasmus Højlund, the first hugest change Erik ten Hag would have gone ahead to make was supposed to be the midfield, because the midfield was a problem. You cannot blame Anton Martial for what he's going ahead to play today. Do you know why? He was in a graveyard shift. He couldn't get the ball. Garnacho today has been silent. Do you know why? The midfield couldn't obviously connect to the attack. I cannot even blame Marcus Rashford, by the way, because how many times did he get that ball from the midfield that could give him allowance to really surge into the final third of the opponent? The answer is no. So the only problem is the only reason I'm going to come out and really slate Rashford for is not tracking back and on principle, But I would love to come in through and really tell you the truth that this game is on the hands of Erik ten Hag, and Erik ten Hag has blood on his hands for this game. I told you in the match preview that this is the game for us to beat. You cannot fail to beat a team that has only 11 fit players, 11 first team fit players, and they don't have a bench. It would have been something simple. Ten Hag would have gone ahead to know 60 minutes gone, right? What am I going to do next? All I have to do is that Newcastle are really, 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 really bad, and they are really having fatigue because they went ahead to play close to 110 minutes in PSG. Now, the moment you bring in Rasmus Højlund, the moment you bring in Anthony, and you don't really rectify the midfield problem, you cannot obviously see them function to full pelt, And Manchester United just lacked lots of things, because however much Kobe Menu is good, he couldn't really do that job alone in that midfield. Remember, he's young, and his mentality cannot handle the atmosphere in that stadium. Remember, he started that game. And I wouldn't have gone ahead to start Kobe Menu into that game. Why wouldn't I? Because I knew exactly what the game of football is going to be. Joe Wellington and Bruno Guimaraes' experience cannot match any of the two. If he was playing alongside Amrabat, I would have gone ahead to say, all right, he's playing with an experienced player who is obviously going to really show up every time the ball is being played into or from the box of Manchester United, and then get hold of that ball and pass it to Kobe Menu and really tell Kobe Menu that, please do this, do this, do this. But what could Scott McTominay do? What would Scott McTominay do? Scott McTominay is a scam. I'm telling you this. Scott McTominay is a fallacy. And if Erik ten Hag believes that Scott McTominay is going to come up and obviously win a midfield battle against players like Joe Wellington, against players like Bruno Guimaraes, that was a lie. And trust me, on the 17th, I think, is it 17th or 23rd, of this month, we are going to go away and play against Liverpool. If Erik ten Hag dares to play Scott McTominay in that game, we are done. We are done. We are done because Scott McTominay is not a player that should be at the club of Man United. And even Erik ten Hag should ask himself, why did he want to sell him in the first place in the summer? Because he knew he was not good enough. But Scott McTominay coming in, obviously scoring 2 goals against Brentford. Then he scored against, what's the side? He scored against Galatasaray on Wednesday. That doesn't really give him a chance to start ahead of Amrabat. Amrabat should be onto that pitch on any day. On any day, he should be onto that pitch. And Ten Hag will have to pay for his mistakes. Trust me. We are going into a very hectic fixture. If he doesn't really rectify this, then he's obviously going to cost the club of Man United more and more. I have no problem with Harry Maguire because he has gone ahead to play very well today. But my problem is the midfield, that everyone knows that this guy is not good enough. This guy is not good enough. That is Scott McTominay. And every time he puts him on the field of play, for me, I get goosebumps. Do you know why? I just know that we are on the Lord's mercy. That is it. We are always on the Lord's mercy every time that guy plays the ball, because you cannot come out and really rely onto Scott McTominay when you're playing against Guimaraes and Joelinton. When you're playing against Everton, it's okay. Sheffield, it's okay. Because if Adole cannot obviously play and win midfield battles for such teams, then why is he at the club of Man United? But when you're playing elite teams that have elite midfielders like Newcastle, Joelinton, and Bruno Guimaraes, then there is no reason for you to go ahead and obviously put that man into the game, because he's not going to help us. Tell me any positive thing you've seen Scott McTominay do, and give me a reason as to why Scott McTominay had to play all those minutes. Why would he really go ahead and not really take him off the field of play? And by the way, for me, I wouldn't take off Kobe Menu. Scott McTominay was the player to take off. That is it, because in a game like that, you wouldn't need a player like Scott McTominay, because it's not all about physique now. It's all about the brains to create, chances for the club of Manchester United, because that's what we needed. We needed creativity in the final third. And guess what? Players like Donny van de Beek with the field of play, and we believe if at all you take off Scott McTominay, Kobe Menu, and you bring in Sofian Amrabat and Donny van de Beek, your creativity really increases. And secondly, you had nothing to protect. We were losing by 1-0, meaning that Donny van de Beek, get on Sofian Amrabat and increase the pressure, because Donny van de Beek is just a player who has a brilliant touch on him. But you keep Scott McTominay, a player who is so mechanical in a game that needs brains, because after conceding the 55th minute, Ten Hag was supposed to make instant substitutions, increase the intensity, get on players who are really good on the ball. That's what he was supposed to do. But what does Scott McTominay keep doing on the field of play? You've taken off Aaron Wan-Bissaka because you know to eat that. You need a right back who can surge in the final third of the pitch. That is Dalot. Good move. You've brought on Sergio Roglan. That is good, because Sergio Roglan even had a very good shot at goal, but it was really blocked by Fabian Schär. You get? He really showed us the importance of as to why they brought him on the field of play. But what's the reason for keeping Scott McTominay on the field of play? Miracles cannot happen every day. Scott McTominay is still relying on the 2 goals he scored against Brentford at the club of Man at Old Trafford to come into that starting 11. Because if you bring in the stats, they don't favor him to obviously be in the starting 11 of Man United. No way he comes into the starting 11 of Man United, because he cannot do even a quarter of what Amrabat brings into play. He can't. He can't. Let's all admit that he can't do half of what Amrabat puts up on the field of play. And sometimes it's bad to live in denial. You know, Ten Hag knows this very well. And you cannot at any day tell me that Scott McTominay starts ahead of Amrabat. Even Donny van de Beek. I cannot start him ahead of that guy because that guy is not a footballer. Trust me, he's just a player who comes in through to score goals and present himself as a physical specimen in that central midfield. But in this game of football, all we need is simple. All we need is what we call players that can cover the field of play and give us the best that we deserve. I'm not going to blame him for the starting 11 that he put up. It really did the job. But was he happy with how we played in the first half? That is the big question, because for any manager to show that he's not happy with how we played in the first half, make changes. Make changes. Heads had to roll. Heads had to roll, because me, who was in Kampala, Uganda, watching that game of football, I really knew that the problem was in the midfield. And who was playing the midfield? It was Scott McTominay. Get him off. Get him off. You know? Get him off. And you see how stuff had to happen. And I was really asking myself, why aren't we attacking this team? Why aren't we attacking Newcastle? You know? Do you know that we got our first corner in the 82nd minute? What a shame for the club of Man United. We sat back, and it was like he wants to hit Newcastle on the break. A team that really played 110 minutes in Paris, they traveled back, and you know they had no substitute to make off the bench. And guys, did you see Newcastle make any substitute apart from the goalkeeper? I think they brought on Matt Ritchie. That is it. For Anthony Gordoni. That is it. But they never had substitute to put up on the field of play. And we just had to obviously go ahead and obviously attack them. For me, I really thought that Erik ten Hag was going to obviously bring on players to really increase the intensity in the 60th minute, because Newcastle players were tired. They were tired. But he makes a very big mistake to get on Amrabat with just 10 minutes to go. 10 minutes to go were not enough for Amrabat to help us really orchestrate everything. All the changes he made when he brought on Rasmus Højlund and Anthony were not necessary at that time. All what was necessary was him to get in Sofian Amrabat and Sergio Reguilón. That is it. You know? Then, around the 80th minute, bring on Rasmus Højlund and get on Anthony. That is it. Because we needed to see how Rashford was going to operate when he was being given the ball from the midfield. You know? We needed to see how Anton Martial was going to operate when he was getting the ball from the midfield. But because they were not getting the ball from the midfield, stuff couldn't happen. And we are going to play against Chelsea. You know, we are playing against Chelsea in the middle of the week. I think it's going to be on Wednesday. Trust me, if we go and play against Chelsea at Old Trafford like that, though we are going to be at home, Chelsea can even beat us. They can even beat us because they have a better midfield. They have a better midfield. You know, a midfield of Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. If you come up with a Scott McTominay in that midfield, it's really a fuss. And what really haunted me a lot, and I really felt like, does Erik ten Hag really think twice when he's doing certain things? You know? At a certain point X, I think around the 25th, 28th minute, I saw Scott McTominay being played ahead of Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo. And I asked myself, what's the reason of Erik ten Hag doing that? What was the reason of him doing that? It was uncalled for. It was uncalled for, you know? And till now, I don't want Erik ten Hag to be sacked. I don't want him to be sacked. But it looks like he's orchestrating his own sack. He's really masterminding his own sack by putting Scott McTominay in the midfield. That is it. He should accept. He should accept that Scott McTominay is a player that shouldn't be playing at the club of Man United. That is it. That is it. Because if you cannot operate when you're playing teams like Newcastle, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspur, teams like those, then you are not supposed to be a Manchester United player. That is it. Because the yardstick at Man United is to prove to those teams that you are really worth it. Let me ask you, why would we have a midfielder starting in the midfield of Man United that cannot start at teams like Newcastle, at teams like Spurs, at teams like Aston Villa, at teams like Brighton? You know, no team in the top half can accommodate Scott McTominay. You might say I'm lying. Let me read to you these teams and show me whether Scott McTominay can play ahead of any of those teams that the teams are really having. Can he play ahead of Declan Rice or Thomas Partey or Jorginho? The answer is he can't. Can he play ahead of Rodri, Calvin Phillips, Matthias Nunes, Kovacic? He can't. That's Man City. Can he play ahead of Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai for Liverpool? No. Can he play ahead of Boba Kamara, Douglas Luiz, and is this other guy called Ramsey? He cannot. That is Aston Villa. Newcastle, Joelinton, Sandro Tonali, and what's the name of that the other guy? Bruno Guimaraes. Can he? No. Tottenham Hotspur, Rodrigo Bentancur, Yefis Bissouma, Højbjerg, and Paquetá Sarr. Can he? The answer is no. We go to Brighton, Probe, Baleba, he cannot. He cannot even play against this guy that was at Chelsea, then sold to Norwich, and then came to Brighton. What's the name of that guy? He plays for Scotland. Billy Gilmore. He cannot. When we go to West Ham, can he play ahead of Alvaro, he's called Alvaro Martinez, I think. Alvaro Martinez and Shuchek and Lucas Paqueta? The answer is no. That is West Ham in the 9th position. Now let's go to the 10th position. Brentford. I cannot play Scott McTominay ahead of Jensen. No way. Chelsea is 11th. Can he play ahead of Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo? The answer still is a no. Now, can he play? Let me even go to Crystal Palace. Junior player who goes by the names of Ebelechi Eze and Okore in that midfield? No, that is the 13th team. 14th team. Can he play ahead of Paulinho? No, he cannot. Now, how can a player who cannot play ahead of close to 13 midfielders in the team, in the Premier League, coming through and really play part into the team of Man United? That is a lie, and you're really living a lie if at all we are really putting Scott McTominay in the starting 11 of Manchester United. That is it. I'm not really talking about what the result is all about, but I'm talking about certain players that Erik ten Hag knows are not really good to go, and they're on the field of play. I'm not going to hate to mention Harry Maguire, because Harry Maguire has come up and put in a shift that everyone is appreciating because he's playing on merit. Harry Maguire is on that field of play on merit, let's admit. But Scott McTominay is not onto that field of play on merit. And trust me, you can be having a player who is really suspect in the central defense, in the right back, right wing, left wing as a center forward, but never allowed to have a player who is a suspect in the midfield. And moreover, in the double pivot of your team, never allow that. Never allow that, because it will haunt you back. It will haunt you back because karma is a bitch, and what comes round goes round. And for Erik ten Hag, that display has been really bad. And let me talk about players like Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford, I'm going to hate to exonerate him from not really being so active in the game in the final third of the pitch, but for the entire time he spent onto the field of play. How many times did you see him track back? His body language is not right. And if I'm Eric Ten Hag in the game of Chelsea, he doesn't get a nod. He doesn't get a nod. One will say he doesn't feel at place because he's being played out of position. But what has he been doing when he's being played out of position, when he's being played in position? Tell me. Tell me. He has been doing nothing. And I told you at the beginning of this season that Garnacho is going to overtake Marcus Rashford. And Garnacho has gone ahead to play another 90 minutes in the shirt of Man United and is going to overtake this guy again. More and more and more, because Garnacho will track back and obviously get the ball, then come in through and help the team in the attacking side. Rashford looks like he's a prince in his own kingdom. He doesn't want to come up and obviously do what he's supposed to be doing, especially tracking back. He's really a player that has gone ahead to play 18 games with only 2 goals this season. It should be a shame. It should be a total shame onto him to obviously not be one of those players that is putting in a shift for the club of Man United, because he would have been able to be taking the responsibility as a senior player at the club of Man United. By the way, if you have to look at the players that have been at the club of Man United for a very long time, I think this guy is one of them. He made his debut in 2016. You know, those are 7 years at the club of Man United, and he's not showing any seniority on the field of play and no leadership qualities. And Rashford should be really ashamed that a player like Bruno Fernandes, who came in through 4 years later when he has been really at the club of Man United, is now the captain, you know. Even Harry Maguire came in through and was given a captain armband when he was here. Look at Anton Martial, you know. Those are the players that have been here for some time, you know. But we are really living in denial if Eric Ten Hag continues to play players like Scott McTominay on the field of play. You know, for the goal, Aaron Wan-Bissaka failed to obviously take his man on, and I think it was really very, very, very bad for him because he had to obviously track and really do that. But we should ask ourselves, where was the midfield? Because what shows you that the midfield was really so much far off the defense is how our backline doesn't be in between the goalposts when that ball is being laid in by Kylian Trippier, you know, because if the midfield had gone ahead to obviously come close to the defense, Maguire and Luke Shaw would have gone ahead to find themselves in a position of really putting in a shift in there for you. But everything is about the midfield. Look at when Amrabat came on through. You remember how he recovers and obviously maintains Ishak on a one-on-one until Luke Shaw joins him and obviously gets the ball off this player. You know, can Scott McTominay do that? You know, that's what we miss. And Eric Ten Hag should understand that Scott McTominay time is over. We're not here for jokes. We're not here for jokes. You know, Liverpool will tear us apart if at all having Scott McTominay in that midfield. I'm telling you, we might really go for another massacre of a 7-0 this season at Anfield. I think it's going to be, is it the 24th? Let me check even. Manchester United, Liverpool. When is that fixture? Let me check here. 17th December. Today is 3rd December. 14 days from now, a fortnight from now, we are going to play away at Liverpool. So, if Ten Hag doesn't really get Scott McTominay out of the team, then we are obviously going to face it rough and you're going to be beaten left, right, and center. Let's go to the stats of the game before I get into what your comments are. We are having, guys, Newcastle had 22 shots. United had 8. Newcastle had 4 shots on target. United had 1 shot on target. Very, very, very unforgiving. For a team like Manchester United, playing a depleted Newcastle side, yeah? It's really very bad. 59% possession by Newcastle, Man United had 41%. 519 passes completed by Newcastle. Manchester United completed 365. 83% passing accuracy by Newcastle. 76% passing accuracy by Man United. 6 fouls by Newcastle. 13 fouls by Man United. 1 yellow card to Newcastle. 2 yellow cards to Manchester United. 0 red cards to both sides. 0 offsides to Newcastle. 1 offside to Man United. That is the goal of Anthony that was ruled out because Harry Maguire had to pave really way out of the ball to go through. Yet he was in a very offside position. Then 7 corners by Newcastle and 3 corners for the club of Man United. And all the 3 corners of Man United came in through in the last, I think, 10 minutes of the game. That is very, very ashamed. Very, very ashamed for the club of Manchester United because you cannot go at Newcastle, and really play like an underdog. That is it. We played like an underdog at Newcastle, and that is unforgivable. Eric Ten Hag, you cannot allow such things to happen when your team is obviously playing the game. You can't. For how many times are we going to go to teams like Newcastle as underdogs, yet we are having better players than them? If Newcastle had better players than us, we would have gone ahead to say, all right, it's okay. But we have better players than those at Newcastle, because if you could tell Eddie Howe that we swap the teams, I get you my Newcastle team, I get a team of Man United to go ahead and really give you the players to give Newcastle the players at Manchester United and Newcastle players to come at Old Trafford, Ten Hag will say no. But Eddie Howe will say, give me those players, because he would love to be having Luke Shaw, Sergio Reguilon, Varane, Amrabat, Bruno Fernandes, Donny van de Beek, Garnacho, Rashford, Anton Martial. We are having better players than Newcastle. But where is the fighting spirit also? In that game, huge questions are still really rising, because you'll ask yourself, who was fighting for the club? Scott McTominay was just running like a headless chicken, no positional discipline. The same applies to Bruno Fernandes. You're a central attacking midfielder, but you are all over the place. You run to the right, you run to the left, yet you are supposed to keep your positional discipline in the central midfield. And this goes back to the manager. What is your role on the touchline? What is your role on the touchline? What is your role on the touchline? So I really have to really get to a common understanding that Eric Ten Hag is the reason as why we're going to have to lose this game. We've lost this game because of Eric Ten Hag. We were supposed to beat Newcastle by the because Newcastle is at its weakest. They are at their weakest. And it was a matter of getting simple things right. And why I'm blaming Eric Ten Hag a lot is he knew exactly what to do. Because he reached Annexon and brought off Kobe Mainoo and brought on Amrabat, Reguilon, and he saw how the things really went ahead to change in the game of play. We started to attack Newcastle, yet would have gone ahead to do the same things at the beginning of the game, because Newcastle couldn't obviously handle our attack for 15 minutes. If we decided to attack Newcastle seriously at the beginning of the game, would have gone ahead to see to it that we open them up and really create chances to get us goals. But we decided to really invite pressure, defend, and maybe find that one lucky chance and score. I think we are way past that. We are way past that, and Eric Ten Hag should change that us up. Let me go into your comment sections, but don't forget to smash the like button. We are 100 people watching in through, and only 11 people have gone ahead to smash the like button. Continue to smash the like button, guys. Let's smash the like button to 100 times. Then Green, the referee robbed us. Guys, no robbing. That goal was offside. Let's all admit that goal was really offside. So let's not obviously come in here and try to lie to ourselves, because Harry Maguire got himself into position and really tried to pull himself out, and that really costed us. That is it. We really had abysmal performance, let's all admit. And Eric Ten Hag is the man to blame for everything that really happened at the field of play, because he has all the right to take on and take off players. That is it. So I don't really see anything that goes ahead to really tell you that that was a goal. And I'm trying to obviously find that photo and maybe flash it onto the screen, because it was not a goal, and it's never a goal. It's never a goal. It's never a goal in that sense, because he could have gone ahead to block. If at all he doesn't really get out of the position of the ball hits him, and when that ball hits him, it doesn't go in, or he controls it and hits it, yet he is in what we call the offside position. Now, look at this. Thank God I've gone ahead to get this photo. Thank God I've gone ahead to get this photo and let me flash it onto your screen and really explain to you. We are not robbed. We were not robbed. Look, Harry Maguire gives way to the ball and he is totally in an offside position, guys. So let's not really argue about this. Harry Maguire was offside. He was offside, and don't really bring in emotions while analyzing such things. He was offside. He was offside. And I think the only sounding reason that I can hear from a United fan is the Bruno Fernandes foul. It was really calling this. It was really calling for this. I would say the referee went ahead, obviously, and VAR went ahead to obviously not act right. To me, this is a red card. This is a red card. You know, he doesn't really get hold of the ball. Sorry, he leaves the ball and goes in for Bruno Fernandes. Very many red cards have been offered to players when they've just gone ahead to intend to see to it that they had players. But this was an intentional foul that saw Fabian Schär land his stud onto the foot of Bruno Fernandes. And what is that called? That is a foul. It's a foul and it's supposed to be a red card. And VAR never went ahead to call the referee to obviously view it on the side monitor, because why would VAR not call in for the referee to go ahead and obviously have a view at that? It was supposed to be subjected to a referee to go ahead and really review it and see whether the referee would have gone ahead to really give a red card or not. That is it. So that was another scam in the game, but VAR, we are so much used to it. Even referees, even the managers have gone ahead to be sent into intimidation by the VAR because they really want to put themselves in a position. They really want to put themselves in a position of scaring the managers for not to come out and really speaking the truth. So the Bruno foul and Anthony goal. Bruno foul was right. It was really calling for red card. And for that, I blame the VAR. But for the goal of Anthony, Harry Maguire was offside. He was offside. What about... All right. Then we go to Josiga Amid Rokani. Good morning. Don't defend Ten Hag. Man United big to him. It's not big for him. I'm not going to come here and really tell you that it's big for him. It's not big for him. The problem at Man United is that Ten Hag is trying to try out things that are not going to work out, and the injuries that we are having are really affecting us a lot. Because if Casemiro was here, you wouldn't see players like Scott McTominay on the field of play. No way. But because Ten Hag is trying to do things that are not right, like getting Scott McTominay on the field of play, for me, I've never believed in that. Because he has been playing 90 minutes in every game. He shouldn't. And have a match I don't want Ten Hag to be sacked. If he continues to play like that, it's inevitable. He'll leave the club of Man United, because you are having players like Amrabat and you're not playing them, and you bring in Scott McTominay. I don't really like that. But he's to blame, by the way, for today's loss. He's to blame for today's loss. Why are you staying with Amrabat? To me, why should Erik ten Hag not play Amrabat? That is a big question, you know? And he knows it, that this guy is better than Scott McTominay, you know? And why get Scott McTominay on and play all those minutes? Scott McTominay is supposed to be a 10-minute player. Get him on, play some 10 minutes. That is it. But you cannot trust him in your midfield, you know? Then Abdul Karim Wanzala, Ten Hag must go. I don't agree. By the way, for everyone who's going to in the comment section and say that Ten Hag should go, then Man United is not made for you. I want to school you, but I've been schooling you guys, but you don't. It looks like you are really having your stand that you feel like you're not supposed to change. If you've been following me on Man United channel, I've not gone ahead to be rigid. I really accept change. Like for Harry Maguire, I've been slating him for how many years? 2-3 years on this channel. But this season, he has gone ahead to put in a shift. And trust me, he's one of the best central defenders at Man United right now. And he's playing ahead of Rafael Varane on merit. You know? So, haven't you learned from Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ralf Rangnick, you know? Rome was not built in one day. Erik ten Hag needs another season at the club of Man United to obviously get rid of everyone he doesn't want. Ten Hag has not been backed enough. Why? Have they gotten him the players he wants, like the first choice players? You know? Look at the manager at Liverpool. He's now in 8 years there. Go ahead and look at how he was performing before. Go and look at how he was performing before 4 years. Because he started to achieve for Liverpool, I think in 2018. I think that's when he played in the Champions League final and Real Madrid smashed him. Not so? So that's when he started to achieve. And he won his first trophy. And I think it was a Champions League. And he beat Tottenham Hotspur in 2019 after spending 4-5 years at the stadium of Anfield. You know, Mikel Arteta, for 2 consecutive seasons now he's competing for the trophy. But look far back he came from. 26th of 2019 December, that's when Mikel Arteta took over Arsenal. In that season, he finished 8th. The next season of 2020-2021, he finished 8th. You know? Now, the season of 2021-2022, where he started off very badly by losing the first 3 games, he ended up finishing 5th. Then, 2022-2023, he finished 2nd. And as we speak today, 2023-2024, he's on top of the Premier League table. Do you remember that Arsenal fans were really calling in for his sacking? But after spending how many years? 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. Now, after spending 4 years at Arsenal, see what Arsenal is like. So everyone's saying that Ten Hag must go. Who are you going to bring? We've brought in Jose Mourinho. By the time he was one of the best managers in the world. He has failed. We just have to admit that we need to give the manager time and not sacking him. Then Green, talk about Anthony's goal. It was not a goal. It was offside. That is it. Let's all admit. Our coach is the problem. How can you bench Amrabat? I'm to blame him for that, but that doesn't mean that I'm meaning that Ten Hag should be sacked. That's not the case. Then Vermax Perez, Scott is not the level of our CDM. Yeah, that's it. And Erik ten Hag should take the blame for that he's obviously starting Scott McTominay ahead of Sofiane Amrabat. That is unforgivable. That is unforgivable. And it's been one of the things I've gone ahead to come in through and really talk about. Even when Scott McTominay comes in and scores goals, I've been a man of my word. If at all you've been watching this channel, and most of you have been in the comment section saying that you have an agenda on Scott McTominay is going to perform very well. Shit. Any player at the club of Man United should perform better at teams like Brentford, Crystal Palace, Galatasaray, Copenhagen. But What proves to you that you're a United player is when you're playing teams like Newcastle that really have quality players, teams like Aston Villa, Arsenal, Man City, and so on and so forth. So Scott McTominay isn't a player that's supposed to be playing for the club of Man United. Omar Moses, guys, everyone's saying Ten Hag should go, should really revise the history of Man United. Let me even tell you something that you don't know, but I've been talking about it here. Sir Alex Ferguson, who spent close to 3 decades at the club of Man United, was going to be sacked in his final year. Was going to be sacked. And they gave him 1 year, 1 season. And what saved him was to win the FA Cup. That's why he's where he is right now. And it took him 5 years to win his first trophy at the club of Man United. Erik ten Hag in his first season, he won a Carabao Cup. He played in the Champions League. He played in the Carabao Cup. He won the Carabao Cup. He played in the FA Cup finale. He was knocked out at the quarterfinals of the UEFA Europa League because of injuries that we really got. Then he finished third in his first season. Now, if anyone is talking about sacking him, then you need to revise history of Sir Alex Ferguson. Just imagine if at all Sir Alex Ferguson was really sacked around 1988, 1989. Would you be even supporting Man United? You wouldn't, because Sir Alex Ferguson went ahead to obviously make a very huge turnaround at the club of Man United, and he made us support it. He made us support it. Ahimbisiwe Humphrey, the style of play has to be changed. Otherwise, we are still losing. By the way, for me, the reason as to why I had thought that we were going to beat Newcastle was because they only had 11 players. And I thought Erik ten Hag would obviously understand it and really get to know that games of football are won and lost in the midfield, and let me obviously enter my midfield. But when he went in for Scott McTominay, for the first half, I said, all right, it's okay. But why would he keep him for that long onto the pitch? Vermex, Maguire, Flowers, and Shaw, when he was out of position, yeah. Maguire played very well, by the way. He played very well, by the way. That is Maguire. He played very, very, very well. And he deserves his flowers. And I don't really believe in Scott McTominay. RD, I'm sorry, but Erik ten Hag is not a good coach for us. Were you saying the same things last season? Mr. Richard, were you saying the same things last season? No way. One single game cannot obviously see to it that you call a manager bad. Arsenal came here and they lost 1-0. Do you think Man United is a better team than Arsenal? Arsenal is the better side, but Newcastle went ahead to obviously come here and obviously beat them 1-0. That was a controversial goal, but they lost to the side of Newcastle. So let's not obviously say that a game of Newcastle will make us sack Erik ten Hag. No way. I cannot allow that. Why are you... then I'm having Klein. Really need someone to explain to me why Amrabat was signed. No Casemiro and Amrabat is still on the bench. This is unforgivable for Erik ten Hag. Yeah, that is it. That is it. I'm going to hate to raise that here, that Erik ten Hag is really answerable for everything we've gone ahead to really not get out of this game, because Amrabat comes on the field of play, everything changes. Everything changes totally, moreover. So Amrabat is supposed to be in the starting 11 of Man United. And if Erik ten Hag doesn't start him against Chelsea, I doubt whether we'll obviously put up a show against that Chelsea side. Hyde Studios, on Wednesday, I wrote in the comments that Newcastle is going to humiliate us. I remember your comment, and I will remember it very well. But Ten Hag allowed that to happen today. Though the result does not reflect humiliation, but the fact is, humiliation was there. 22 shots. 22 shots. We are better at defending other than attacking. And even though you defend, there is a moment of giving up. Every person has a breaking point. Now, a breaking point occurred in the 55th minute. Having gone ahead to survive in the first half, we couldn't survive for 9 minutes into the second half. We couldn't, guys. We couldn't. We cried for Amrabat, but see what Erik Ten Hag is doing. Yeah, we did. And he's not obviously playing him. It's very, very, very absurd. And you ask yourself, why did he sanction that move to happen? Vamex Perez, take Rashford off. Pelestri is there, fit than Marcus Rashford. And he offers more than Marcus Rashford, by the way. That is it. You're right on that. Manchester United, it's not gone. It's not gone. It's not gone, guys. It's not gone, guys. Ijosiga Amidu, White and Hag still, Amrabat and Kobe Menu. For me, I would play Amrabat and Kobe Menu, by the way, in the double pivot. That is it. Scott McTominay was supposed to come on and play like 10 minutes. Amrabat was not the one supposed to come on in the 80th minute. He was supposed to start that game and come off in the 80th minute and get on Scott McTominay to play 10 minutes. That is it. Onyayet Silva, why always Scott McTominay start and they don't? That is it. That is it. That's why I blame Erik Ten Hag for that, because you cannot have a better midfield on the bench and not play him. You know, you can't. Umal to Mogisha. Kobe Menu has lost midfield battle because of poor McTominay today. That is it. That is it, because we are playing against good midfielders. Bruno Gimares and Joe Wellington are really good midfielders that you cannot obviously underlook like that. Success does not happen overnight. Give Ten Hag time. I'm an advocate of that. Mr. Azameti, if you've been watching me on this channel, I've been pro Erik Ten Hag, and I've never gonna hate to say that Ten Hag should be sacked. I've never gonna hate to say that. I'm pro Erik Ten Hag. I've just gonna hate to say to it that he needs like 5 seasons to obviously set us going. I've given you examples of Arteta, Sir Alex Ferguson, and the manager of Liverpool. What's his name? Jurgen Klopp. You get? So we should give him time, but there are certain things he shouldn't be doing. Scott McTominay shouldn't be starting in that team because he doesn't have the qualities to play in the midfield. You know, you should just bring him on to play some 10 minutes. But what the hell? Scott McTominay is going to the field of play for 90 minutes. No way. Thomas Eramwanaru. McTominay is not creative. All stand authority in the midfield. He kills the quality of Amrabat. Still the coach. Still play wrong players like Scott McTominay. Onana and Rashford. He lost discipline in the team. I think Onana really did great today. When we really needed him to come in through, he put in a shift. But my problem is he's a ball distributor, better playing goalkeeper. Of the two, what is he doing? Because in a game like this, you would have gone ahead to rely onto his ball distribution, that maybe he'll find out a magical pass in the midfield that will be line breaking and maybe find Bruno Fernandes, and then Bruno releases Garnacho or Rashford. But he's not doing that also, you know. Passing from the back is a problem for him. One will say because we don't have Lisandro Martinez. So does that mean that our style of play from the back will depend on Lisandro Martinez? If at all he really gets an injury, we won't be playing from the back. The problem is we're not having a CDM that can obviously really get that ball from the back. And that's why Scott McTominay is the problem. Tumweba said, Derek, mistakes are done, but why did he take long to solve it? Amrabat would have come in 50th minute and you partner him with Kobe Menu and Fernandes. Even why... I'm not going to call Martial lazy. You know, this has been a narrative being painted on Antoine Martial, you know. Trust me, he's a good player. Every time you get him on the ball, he's a good player. But if you're calling Antoine Martial lazy, what has Rasmus Højlund did for the 30 minutes we're going to hit on the field of play? 30, 40 minutes. Because what was happening on Antoine Martial was happening on Rasmus Højlund. He was in a graveyard shift. He was in a graveyard shift. That is it. That is it. The midfield couldn't really supply. The problem is the midfield. The problem is the midfield. You know, never blame a striker who hasn't gone ahead to get supply. If the midfielders don't really create chances for your center forward, do you think your center forward is going to be an angel to come out and pull out a moment of magic, get that ball from Onana and really run through the players into the box and then score? That's out. Classic roofing, the fact is that there is a dressing room problem, Man United. How many times did Newcastle want to buy Scott McTominay? Scott McTominay, they wanted to sign him, but not as a starter in their midfield. That is it. You know, if Newcastle saw Scott McTominay as a bench player, why is Scott McTominay a starter at Man United? You know, that is a big question that every team needs to address. To members of Derek, tell me the style of play we play today. If a team without substitute can humiliate us, then think of Liverpool or Chelsea. I'm worried, by the way. On Wednesday, I'm really worried because Chelsea can come and humiliate us at Old Trafford. Liverpool will demolish us. That's a given. That's a given for Liverpool. They are going to annihilate us because they cannot obviously forgive us because we are really bad and poor. We are really bad and poor with players like Scott McTominay. And then Ten Hag is the problem, not McTominay. Yeah, I'm not gonna hate to blame McTominay. I'm gonna hate to say Eric Ten Hag is the problem because he goes ahead and obviously fields a midfielder that cannot obviously match the levels and standards of players that we are playing against because our opponents we are superior. And he had to get in Amrabat to get us going. Jonathan Kennedy, Man United stand off and give him time and space to pick a pass and play great team to play against. That is it. Because you cannot obviously play a low block and obviously come on and really think that Newcastle won't punish you. They had to punish us. Thomas, the useless coach never learned from his mistakes. He continues praising players that play badly. Weak out pride is a problem of the coach. It's not sacking him that, guys, sacking the manager is not a problem because even when we bring another manager, he's going to really get in new players and we go back to square one. He has to be here. After being here, he'll get out players like Scott McTominay out of the squad, but that doesn't take the blame of him. It's the problem. He's the blame for us losing. I think we should stop blaming players. Coach is the problem. But you cannot tell me that Marcus Rashford shouldn't be blamed for not tracking back. That is it. Because the coach tells you to track back. We all know that Ten Hag wants an intensity game. That is it. That is it. The coach, why is it that when the team is winning, praise goes to the players? And why is it that when a team is losing, blame goes to the coach? You know? So these things should be shared. When the team is winning, the manager should be given his flowers and the players should be given their flowers. And when the team is losing, the manager should take the blame and the players that have not lived up to the occasion should also be blamed. Then Musingo Jafali, thanks already for updating us. I'm listening in Mbale, Busajabwankuba. I knew that Newcastle was going to hurt us. For me, I knew we are going to beat them because they never had a bench. They never had a bench. And how can a team that never had a bench come in through and obviously beat us? Then classic roofing. I agree with you, RD, when you say Man United always play like underdogs. Yeah, you go at Newcastle and play like that, you're an underdog. Yet, we are supposed to obviously really try to put them onto the biggest test of their season because they're only having 11 players fit. The bench was really young. David Zimla, maybe Ten Hag should leave Man United, doesn't know when and why to make changes. That's not it. Everyone who thinks that, by the way, everyone who thinks that Ten Hag's leaving is going to solve the problem at Man United, you are really lying yourself. You are lying to yourself. You are selling a lie to yourself. What we should do is simple the club of Man United. Very, very simple. Get the players, get the manager, the players that he wants. Simple. Get him the players he wants. Because Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire were the two players that Eric Ten Hag wanted out, and the board couldn't sell them. The board wanted 40 million pounds for Scott McTominay, yet West Ham was offering 30. But don't you think 30 million pounds are really worth for Scott McTominay? He's worth that amount of money. Sell him and get in players that the manager really wants. You know? It's the problem of the board of Man United that Ten Hag is having players that he doesn't want. Let's get him the players he wants. And if at all he puts up such performances, then we blame him on principle. But I hate blaming people not on principle. Straight red card, Yeah, for Fabian Scheer, for the foul onto Bruno Fernandes, it was a straight red card. Joker's pub, Bro, Ten Hag isn't fit for United. I've proved it today. Guys, those are emotions, yeah? You are speaking with emotions, eh? Roxon, Apong, Broby, Rokan. Why did Adrian drop Lindelof? For me, I think the central defense played very well. And I'm not blaming them. I think Lindelof, because he played in the game of Everton, he played in the game of Galatasaray. I think Ten Hag decided to drop him a little bit and obviously tried out Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire because I think in the game of Chelsea, that's the central defense partnership is going to bring. And that goal, I'm not going to blame the central defense. Our problem was from the midfield to going forward. The midfield couldn't connect to the attack. We couldn't even put up 4-5 touches when Onana really started that ball. We couldn't. We couldn't play through the press of Newcastle. And when Amrabat came on through, we started to play through the press of Newcastle because we had a better midfielder that could really go past players like Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Wellington. Ronnie Chris, Mr. I'll keep telling you that our players doesn't have the team spirit. Guys, let me tell you, if you go on the distance that Scott McTominay had to travel, he might have gone ahead to run better than any player in the field of play. But even Bruno Guimaraes did that. Joe Wellington did that. But what really sets the bar or the splitter is the talent that Joe Wellington has and Bruno Guimaraes. Those two. They are talented than Scott McTominay. Even if you run, talent won't come to your rescue because you don't have it. But when Bruno Guimaraes does what Scott McTominay does, it is followed up by talent. And then the talent will evolve and then he'll overtake Scott McTominay. So even if you run when you're not talented, it does not help you when you are playing against a team that is having players who are really running and really having talent. You won't get exonerated. Then Ameli, so another person to blame today. Man United has leadership issues and the players are not good enough to handle a better team like Newcastle. All the commentators should stop picking someone to blame. For me, I want to come out. I'm taking the blame to Erik Ten Hag today. On Wednesday, I told you Erik Ten Hag was not the one to blame. It was Andre Onana and Bruno Fernandes for those goals. You get? But today, he's the one to blame. Because why do you keep on a team? Why do you keep on players in the midfield that are not really performing, connecting the midfield to the attack when you are 1 goal down? Why would you? Could you get me an answer? He kept Scott McTominay on for all that long. He was supposed to take Aaron Bissaka off, put Dalot on the right back, Reguilon on left back, Amrabat and Kobe Menu in the midfield, and don't hurry to get on Anthony and Rasmus Højlund. Get the midfield better and see how these two are going to perform when the midfield had gone ahead to be really improved, but went ahead to do the opposite. Then Green, I was expecting Ten Hag to bring Amrabat and Anthony the beginning of the second half. Sometimes he wastes so much time before making his substitute. What a bad day today. Yeah, very, very bad. Ameli, we could see Newcastle playing with aggression, but Man United players were just running everywhere. There was no strategy in the way they played. Please stop blaming Onana. Onana is not a problem. Today, you cannot come out and blame Onana because he's not the problem. Onana's day was on Wednesday, and everyone really agreed that Onana was the problem. But today, Erik Ten Hag's tactics let us down, and his substitutions, because he knows that when I get on Amrabat, the team is going to play well. Then why isn't he playing him? He's the one to answer. You like supporting nonsense, that is Isaac Jr. It's okay, you can call it nonsense, but were you saying this last season? Guys, Erik Ten Hag is a very good manager that Pep Guardiola once hinted on being one of the managers looking at to replace him at Manchester City. Trust me, he can go to Real Madrid, he can go to Barcelona, he can go to Bayern Munich, he can be a coach at any team. So, That's the first plus that you have. Now, the problem is you think that success comes overnight. Success comes overnight. You know, success doesn't come overnight. And if I told you outside there saying that Rokan is supporting nonsense, that you want Ten Hag out, when Louis van Gaal was sacked, what changed? When Jose Mourinho was sacked, what changed? When Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked, what changed? So, guys, try to really think twice before you make certain statements. We should keep Erik Ten Hag here as long as he can last, such that we get in a sporting director, we get in a new CEO that can obviously run things, because we need people that can oppose Erik Ten Hag. When Ten Hag says, I want Frankie de Jong, the sporting director will tell him, no, we are having a player that can play better than Frankie de Jong, and his stats are here. Though Frank de Jong is at Barcelona, we're having maybe Fofana playing at Monaco. He can do a better job than him, and is cheaper. We can get him at like 30 million pounds, you know? When he says, get me Mason Mount, the sporting director will tell him, no, we cannot get you Mason Mount because he's not what this team needs. We want a philosophy like ABCD. And people think that the managers dictate the philosophies to play the club. No. In the modern game, it's the sporting director that dictates what style of play the team is going to really put up, because the CEO will hire a sporting director and will tell him that I'm hiring you to get me a staff that can play this style of football. And then the sporting director will sit down and tell the CEO of the club that I want A, B, C, D. The sporting director is answerable to the CEO, and the CEO is answerable to the board of Man United. That's how things are supposed to be. But at United, we are having a lame director of football, sporting director, that is John Mata, who cannot do his job. When Ten Hag tells him, I want this player, because John Mata is incompetent, he cannot negotiate, and Erik Ten Hag has just gone ahead to convince these players to come in through, he goes in for those players that Ten Hag has just gone ahead to really negotiate with, and he brings them because he cannot convince them to come at Man United. Or there are no players that are really good that he can convince to come to Man United. But when you get in a very competent CEO like Paul Mitchell, he will have to convince players to come in through. And he'll tell Erik Ten Hag, you want so-and-so, but I have a better option. You know? You cannot tell me that, even if you had money, would have gone ahead to sign Jude Bellingham. No way. Why? Madrid are having a better negotiator at such deals, you know? So, all things to be right, we need a sporting director. We need a CEO that understands the game of football. And on Monday, it's confirmed that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is obviously going to take over his office at the club of Man United. Let him appoint a new CEO. We want a new sporting director in. Then we are going to build a juggernaut that is going to be trophy-minded winning, and it's obviously going to be having lots of positives, because now Erik Ten Hag is going to be having people above him who really know what to do and can really give him exactly what he wants. They'll sit in the boardroom, they'll discuss, they'll argue. By the end of it all, they'll come up with the best of the team, because the sporting director, if I told Paul Mitchell, or the CEO will come in and tell Erik Ten Hag, I want us to be playing the style of football you're playing at Ajax. What do you need? Ten Hag will tell him, I need so-and-so, I need so-and-so, and they'll obviously get him those players. And he'll tell them, I don't want this player, get him out, and that player will be sold. That is it. So I think that's the best the club of Man United needs. Nobody should blame the coach, get him the players he wants. That's really huge. But for today, we never needed players. All we needed was the manager to get in the right place on the field of play to win. So Ten Hag is blamed today, but the general perspective is simple. The Glazers are the problem. Then Ameli, United needs new players. That is it. Players, first choice players that the manager wants. First choice players that the manager wants. That is it. Henry J. Uganda, sometimes we feel like stop watching United games, but because it's our team, we do watch. But players should honestly gain momentum too and desire for the team. The desire is there, but guys, what analogy can I obviously throw in here? I think I should throw in a very good analogy that most of you will understand. Now, can you tell a male cow that is a bull to give you milk? It cannot. However much you tell it that give me milk, it won't, because it's not meant to give you milk. So we are having players at the club of Man United that are supposed to be here, and we are asking a lot from them. So not until those players are sold, because Scott McTominay, Ten Hag wanted him out. The Glazers kept him here. So that's why I told you that. Let's welcome Sir Jim Ratcliffe in, and when he comes in through, the rest will be history. Then Peter Klein, who does what Ten Hag does? Wait for the next game. The subs that came on and changed the game will also be on the bench. We wait, and if at all he does through and doesn't win, then we'll obviously come and select him again, because for us, every manager is as good as his last game. That is it. As for the players, the same applies to the managers. Every player is as good as his last game. So if Ten Hag risks and we lose to Chelsea, we'll select him again. We'll give him a select that he deserves. Green comes out and tells me that, Klein, you're right. Imagine he start other players that change the game during the 80th minute against Newcastle. We're going to win our next game. But he will never learn from his mistakes. We wait and see how that pans out. Klein, Rokani, I'm waiting for the day you'll stop sympathizing with the coach. Until when? At the end of the season, I'm waiting to see sometimes call a spade a spade. Guys, I've given you my ultimatum, right? I want Eric Ten Hag to operate when he's having a footballing CEO who is proven, like Jan Cloud, worked at Juventus, worked at PSG. You get? If Sir Jim Ratcliffe gets him in and gets in a sporting director like Paul Mitchell, then if Ten Hag continues to perform badly, I'll come here and say he's not a coach, or he's not the right coach for the club of Man United. But before that is set and put into action, I'm not going to tell you that he should be sacked. I want him to be sacked under the right circumstances, when he has gone ahead to tell the board that we've gone ahead to obviously get you this. You said you wanted this, and you've gone ahead to get it. Guys, put this in your head. In any transfer window, if I told you here that Eric Ten Hag wants Declan Rice and he gets him, Ten Hag wants Frankie de Jong and gets him, he wants Darwin Núñez and gets him, he wants Julian Timber and gets him. If Ten Hag gets all his first choice players in, like I was going to hate to demand for, then if he performs like this, I'll be the first person to call him out, to say that he needs to be sacked. Do you remember that he wanted Kim Min-jae? Did we get Kim Min-jae in? They gave him John Evans. You get? That's what I'm telling you. You're competing with teams that are really having elite players. Even the bench players of certain teams can come into the club of Man United and really start. David Sozi, sorry, Man United fan. All right, thank you for watching it through. Then Mehdi Ibra, I support you already. Guys, it's not that I'm sympathizing with Eric Ten Hag. No. The problem is you are comparing Eric Ten Hag to other managers that are having footballing people ahead of them. When Arsenal said we want Declan, let me take you back. Ever since Arteta came in through, when Arteta made Ben White his priority signing, he got him. When he made Gabriel Jesus his priority signing, got him. When he made Declan Rice his priority signing, he got him. Kai Havertz, he got him. Julian Timber, he got him. You get? Now, can you compare such a team, such a manager who is getting everything he wants, that to a manager that doesn't get what he wants and gets third choice players? Guys, let's be real. Let's be real and don't obviously say that I'm just sympathizing with the manager. The manager needs to be given what he wants. And lastly, he should do substitutes in time. Sometimes it delays and costs us double panicking in the game flow. All right. Thank you, Henry J. Uganda, for watching through. I think I should really sum it up by showing you the table. We've gone ahead to go 7th down on the Premier League table. And it cannot be good news. Arsenal, 33 points. Chelsea 29, Liverpool 28, Aston Villa 28, Newcastle 26, Tottenham Hotspur 26, Man United 24, Brighton 24, West Ham 20, Brentford 19. So, at the look of things, we are how many points from the top four? We are 4 points from the top four. And if Aston Villa win, we are going to be 7 points from the top four. You know, that's not good news for the club of Man United. And we are 13 points from the team topping the table, right? So that's not good news for the club of Man United. It's not good news for the club of Man United, and we need to obviously offer better and better and better. But 14 games played, we are left with 24 games. A lot can change in our season, and see to it that we obviously exonerate ourselves and really get better and better. Thank you guys for watching through. May the living to God bless you abundantly. The Muslims, Barakallahu fikum. I'm out. Bye-bye. But don't forget to smash the like button, because only 26 have gone ahead to smash the like button. Continue to smash the like button.